How are you getting on? Captain Mark here. One of the most regular questions I get asked is, have I ever lost a container overboard at sea? Short answer to that is no. I've been working on these ships for over 2 decades now, and I've never had an accident where a container has ended up in the drink. It is an extremely rare occurrence. The most recent statistic I saw was last year, 223 containers were reported to end up in the sea out of 250 million containers that were carried worldwide. So less than 1 in a million. Sometimes accidents do happen. This can be the most extreme working environment on the planet. You wouldn't think it today, lovely and sunny, but sometimes things do go wrong. Now if you do ever see one of these ships, they can look very top heavy. They're loaded all the way out to the edge and it looks very precarious, but there is rhyme and reason to how these are stacked. And I'm going to take you through how ships are lashed, how the containers are secured to each other and to the ship now. So you can see these stacks here all the way towards the back. What you see here is also under deck. So these are all loaded on top of the hatch cover. Underneath the hatch cover, way down under there is the same again. These top ones are light, getting heavier as you go down. And from the top down, on the corner of every container is a twist lock connecting it to the container below. All the way down to the hatch cover, and then you also have your lashing bridge and your cross lashing bars and turnbuckles, and we look at them more closely. So the hatch covers don't have anywhere to go, they're locked into place by the steel structure of the ship itself, and then they rest on these rubber pads, and the rubber pads are located all the way around. These are the originals, they're 7 years old, they're extremely hard wearing, they avoid steel on steel contact. That allows for a little bit of play, a little bit of movement as the ship bends and flexes as it's moving through the seas. Out on the far edges there is a pedestal, in the pedestal there is a shoe, and into the shoe the twist lock is placed, and then onto that the container is placed and then locked. And then on the hatch covers there is a shoe on every one, so the container can be placed there as well, same deal. And then between every bay you have this big steel structure, and that is called a lashing bridge. So whenever this unit reaches its destination and needs to be offloaded, has to be open like that, then the container is free to be lifted up. The next container comes, it's locked closed. So every corner has that all the way along, and then the ones above are connected to the ones below. So they look like this. They weigh about 9 kilos. Extremely tough construction. Spring loaded. Semi-automatic twist lock. Opened. Open position. Closed position. Twist lock. Safe working load, 250 kilonewtons. I knew I left my hip flask somewhere. Oh, why is the rum always gone? Then when you get up onto the lashing bridge, you have your first layer of lashing rod and turnbuckle arrangements. The turnbuckle is connected directly to the lashing bridge structure. Turnbuckle is just open and closed by twisting, and a lashing rod sits into that, and then the lashing rod sits into the corner casting of the container as well, and they're all cross lashed all the way along. Now here we are, top of the lashing bridge, final set of lashing bars and turnbuckles. We have the set below, single lashings. Now up here, double lashed, and your twist locks. Twist locks go all the way up to the top. Double lashing comes up to here. These are also extremely strong, 250 kilonewton safe working load, and they have this is new. There is an arrangement here to allow for a little bit of play, because you don't want everything to be bar tight. These containers have now become basically part of the ship's structure because they're attached to the lashing bridge. So you want to have a little bit of play because the ship moves around, bends, flexes, as I said, and if you have everything bar tight, they tend to snap. So there needs to be a little bit of movement allowed, and that's all good. So as you can see, extremely secure. And on this ship they have an arrangement called Mickey Mouse setup. So you can see on the far end there There's extra ones on the outside, like Mickey Mouse's ears, for the very outside of the stack to give it even more security. So the stevedores come on board and they do all this kind of stuff, and we check it. We double check their work before we leave port. Every single bay, every single bar, every single turnbuckle, every single twist lock has to be made sure that it's tightened, closed, ship shape, not broken, looking good, and then we leave. Not before that. So if this bay was being discharged in the next port, all of these will be opened up by the stevedores. They'd also have to individually open every single twist lock going all the way up, and then they'll all be lifted off, and then the next ones will be loaded on, and this will all be put back together again. You can even see here, so in the middle of the lashing bridge, the lashing bridge itself is actually in two parts, so it's not one single piece. Again, that's so the whole thing can have a little bit of movement, especially in rough weather. I've done a video of how the ship moves about when it gets a little bit of rough, and you can definitely see big long ship like this, everything is doing a little bit of movement. That's okay. That's no problem. That's cool. No need to worry about the ones that are under deck. They're inside the structure of the ship and they're covered with the hatch cover, safe as houses. So now you know the very basics of how containers are secured on board the ship. I'll do a separate video at some point on loading and the loading computer and how we identify containers. Do we know what's in them? Do we know where they're going, where they come from, etc., etc. That's something for another day. For now, good luck.